Not everybody's gonna like you or whatever you have to say. It doesn't matter. But there's people out there who need you to say what you're inspired to say because they do not have a voice. And that is very important to remember. There's people counting on you to say the thing because they can't say it. Yeah.
Keisha-Gaye Anderson is an award-winning poet, author, visual artist, and communications consultant based in Brooklyn, New York. Her books include Everything is Necessary, Gathering the Waters, and A Spell for Living. Keisha's writing has appeared in Academy of American Poets, Prairie Schooner, Plowshares, The Caribbean Writer, and many other magazines and journals. And she has received fellowships and/or grants from the New York Foundation for the Arts, New York State Council on the Arts, Martha's Vineyard Institute for Creative Writing, and the Laundromat Project. She's a past FONA and Callaloo Fellow and was a Brooklyn Public Library artist in residence. Her early career work included roles as a producer for PBS, CBS, and NHK, Japanese TV, and a writer for magazines like Black Enterprise, Psychology Today, and Teen People. Keisha's art has been exhibited widely, including venues like Weeksville Heritage Center, Restoration Plaza, and Carter Burden Gallery. Keisha lectures in English at LaGuardia Community College, CUNY, and Poets House, and leads creative writing workshops internationally. In this episode, we have a grounded, heart-centered conversation about creativity, purpose, and self-acceptance. We explore how to honor your inner voice, create from a place of wholeness rather than hustle, and make space for your art in the midst of real life. This episode is for creatives seeking a more gentle, spiritually rooted approach to their work and who are ready to trust that their voice, their story, and their timing are enough. Keisha, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to have you on the show today.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you.
I'd love to start with really looking at your creative season. If your current creative season had a title, what would it be?
That's a good question. It would be checking the rotating garden. That's not very sexy. You know why
Tell
I
me
say
more.
that? It's what do they call that? What do they call that? Rotation farming. Um, there's a lot of things going on creatively. I have a potato patch and a cherry tree and an apple tree. I have different things going on that will be ready at different times. And so I'm strolling through my, creative imagination and whatever needs to be tended to now, that's what I'm doing, but there's always something going on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, the first part wasn't very catchy, but that's the image that comes to my mind. So I would say, well, my creative season, would just be taking a walk on my homestead, looking at the what needs to be, what do I need to pay attention to now?
What needs tending, huh?
What needs tending? Like that's where I'm focused because there's multiple things happening.
How did you first get started with writing? Were you always a writer?
Oh yeah, as a child. Yeah, definitely. Wrote poetry and I started out drawing and I left that alone and then I came back to it and now I exhibit some of my art. It has been shown in some places, but writing is the bulk of my creative expression in the public sphere. So yeah, I was always writing poetry, since childhood. That's just what captured my attention. I really liked it. I guess, you always, there are multiple layers to yourself, and, it's like what self is needed at what point in your life, and then you return to things. They don't leave you. People are always afraid that something's going to leave you, but it's your makeup. So now I'm drawing again. It's just like, I think maybe I hit a milestone.
You hit a milestone.
You hit various milestones at different times, and that's what I recommend to like get a handle on like big goals is like put them into little categories and this 5 months I'm going to do that and this 6 months I'm going to do that. And I guess, I reached a certain level where I just wanted to pay more attention to the visual art. So that's what I did for, I'd say since 2018, 19, 20, around that time. So,
Oh, that's
mhm.
fascinating. You mentioned that we worry about creativity leaving us. Can you tell me more about that mindset?
Yeah, there's nothing to worry about because, we're born into this like hustle and bustle and we always have to go, go, go. And very early on, we put children on a certain track and we say, well, you have to learn this one thing. And as we know now at this point, in adulthood, you realize that's just to turn you into a certain kind of worker for the society. But everybody has multiple interests And so you don't have to worry about those things leaving you because if you're drawn to them or you're good at them, if you can sing, you'll always be able to do that. It's a question of refinement. So what you give attention to, you can refine it and make it fantastic, right? So these are just dormant things that we need to, and if it's not profitable to pay attention to it, often if we're not wealthy, we don't get to pay attention to it because we have to go out and do one thing, and this is how we're all conditioned. So it is really important to become aware of what your strengths are, and then always find some private time to sort of a journal or something when you're young, just to remember that you have those interests. Just write them down, and then go back to those things and say, what did I want to do? I've got tons of story ideas and poems, sketches, and even sketches in, my sketchbook, and I have an idea for something, and I leave them alone, and then sometimes I go back to them. And
Mhm.
sometimes I don't, but the big challenge in life really is not about it's more about like focus because everything's trying to get your attention because everybody wants to use your energy to work for them or do whatever it is. So that's a life lesson for young people is to be a good friend and a community member, but to have boundaries. Very important because then you can't just give, 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 especially if you're kind, you're going to be giving everybody everything, and then you'll have nothing left and you're so tired. So the best work is done in the morning. Whenever you get up, you give the time that you have the most energy, give it to yourself, even if it's like 15 minutes. And then you'll feel satisfied, like, okay, now I can go help somebody else. You just give it to yourself the first time part of the day. And if you're an artist or creative or you know, 15 minutes, it's not a lot of time, but it can be a long time if you're writing something.
That is powerful. I'm just thinking through my writing process, and I usually write at night.
Let me rephrase that because I do write a lot at night. So it's like on the one hand, yes, give yourself the time when you have the most energy, or when you feel the most tranquil after everything's done. That's the other end of the day. Then you say, okay, now this is my time until now, until I go to bed. Like for me, I had children, so when they went to bed, at night, that was when it was better. It was easier for me. But now
Mhm.
they're, technically adults. So like, right? So whatever works for you.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that advice.
Hmm.
Books, Everything is Necessary,
Hmm.
Gathering the Waters, and A Spell for Living.
Hmm.
What was happening in your life or creatively during each of those projects?
Okay, so the first book, and let me just tell you, I did not get that published till I was 40. And I know everybody's young who's worrying about everything. I had been published before. I had a career before as a journalist, which I was very proud of, right? So from, the time I left college into my 30s, I was also having children. I was also getting a master's degree. I was doing a lot. So I had all these poems that I'd just been writing gradually over time. So the very first book was really just me putting all of that together. And it's sort of just a tribute to my lineage, my ancestry, where I come from. It's just that first book. It's like, here's where I came, from these people. Here, it's about my culture. It's about meditating on who I am as a person, right? And so that one won a competition. I was getting nervous. I was like, man, when is this going to happen? But I didn't let that stop me because I always keep writing with just the knowledge that someday, yeah, it's going to get published. If you stop and you worry, like, why isn't this happening? You won't write anything. But luckily, I had a lot of work. A lot of things did not make it into the book because I had so much because I had a practice of writing. So that first book was really like, hey, this is me, sharing, my joy of life and love of family and a tribute to Jamaica, where I was born, right? The second book now, um, everything is necessary. So, life has ups and downs.
Mhm.
And, when things get difficult, sometimes you're like, why is this happening to me? What the hell, And a thought just came to me. And in terms of making art, I put it in the voice of my grandmother who's deceased or like an ancestor. saying everything is necessary for your growth. So like, don't complain about it. You have to do something with all of these challenges. So that's really that's the thread of that book. It's like, yeah, things are hard, but they're necessary, or you have to go through some of these things. And that's a very on brand thing for a woman, in her mid 40s, right? That's what's happening at that time of life. That's what's happening. And then the last book, A Spell for Living, which is a hybrid work because it has my art throughout the book, and the poems respond to the poems and the art are connected. They kind of give the same feeling. My art is on the cover. And that book is really me prompting people to, a lot of times people say, and students will say this to me, am I supposed to do this? And I'm like, there's no supposed to, generally speaking, when it comes to creativity. For other things, like, you got to drive on the right side of the street, right? Stop at the red light. But when it comes to art, there's no supposed to. So, like, make a spell, make your own magic spell. Like, whatever works, whatever, if you have to, stand on your head before you get inspired, go do that. Um, and make your own spells. Also tell yourself, just tell yourself all the greatest, fantastic, I'm wonderful. Because we have to do this because out there there's so many things to tell you that you're not smart, you're not this, you're not that. And you have to say, like, be like a little kid who believes, like, yes, I'm a fairy in the woods and here's my magic wand and I'm going to make a spell. And when you're a kid, you believe that stuff. Make a
Mhm.
spell and say, no, I'm fantastic and I'm gonna be a famous writer, whatever. And follow that. Just be delusional when it comes to making art. That's a necessary ingredient because, everybody will tell you, like, oh, why don't you're wasting your time, whatever. That was the idea. Just go
Mhm.
do something whimsical.
Something whimsical.
Yeah,
Wow.
go enjoy yourself because what else is there to do? I mean.
And you also brought up the power of our words, and then I would like to take a step back. You also mentioned your thoughts. I want to
Mm,
better understand the process of how you were able to take your thoughts, the inspiration, and
mhm,
execute. And
mhm.
there's so much doubt. There's so many distractions. How were you able to translate the downloads, the information to paper?
There's a feeling, some of these things are born from the emotional reality of there's nothing else to do because if I don't do this, there's just a feeling of urgency, like there's nothing else to do but this. And that's how that's what you're supposed to be doing. And I think any artist will tell you exactly the same thing. There is this sense of like, I have to do this. And so, I'm the way my personality is, I guess, is fortunate for being productive because I'm very organized and I've tended to hold management positions where I was the leader and I have to manage people. So I'm naturally like, that comes easy to me and I like that. So I applied those things to myself. Is why I don't mind being on a schedule to write. Give me a schedule. You know, the tricky part is once you have your schedule, then you can relax and then you can get into the headspace of just listening. Just listen to how you feel. Just listen, because people want to do something to create a result in the world. But art is not about doing that. It's about actually just listening to what is coming through. And then your participation in that is to use the craft, whatever craft you function in, whether you're an oil painter or you're a singer, you've been taught this method. Okay, can you use the method? Can you write a poem that's structurally good? Can you use poetic form? Do you have good vocabulary? Those are all the pieces of it. But the most important thing is to listen and to whatever is inspiring you and then plug it into your schedule and write it down. And the thing is, the best way to do that is to have a finite time to do something so you don't feel like you're doing this forever. It's like, this is my writing time. If nothing comes up, nothing comes up. If I doodle and I draw flowers all over the page, like, then that's what I did. But then it's just the same as if you took a walk. It does something. If you don't do it, it's like exercise. It does something. Even if you think it's not doing anything, it's churning something and something will come up. So you have to be disciplined. Discipline is not a bad thing. It's very important. And being a mother taught me that. Like if I wasn't, I had these two kids, and they were infants, and I was in graduate school at night, and I had a full-time management. I was a director, I had a full-time job where I had to manage like a whole bunch of people. And I was commuting every day from Brooklyn to the Bronx. So I was in public transportation for 3 hours every day and going to grad school, having kids, and I did it. It was really hard.
I can imagine.
It
Wow.
was very hard, but I knew there was an end to it. So if the more you put it off, you know there's an end date. So you just go through it and then it's over.
Yeah.
So
So just do it.
yeah, and it's hard because we're all wired differently. So you got to find whatever the thing is that helps you feel safe. I think a lot of times it's about safety. People don't feel they feel anxious. You have to find a place where you feel safe, whether it's like, I've cleaned my whole house now, I feel like I can relax. Some people are like that. I'm like, okay, it's clean. Like I can. Some people feel like, okay, I'm gonna go to this coffee shop and be around other people, and that makes me feel, whatever is the thing that helps you feel safe enough to be in your imagination. Because if you're on high alert, if you're in a stressful environment, if you feel like people are pressuring you, then you won't be able to relax.
Mm,
So,
yeah, that makes sense.
mm.
Relax and let creativity flow.
Mhm.
You mentioned discipline. Do you believe in writing daily as a part of a process?
No, no, because we're all different. Some people, yeah, somebody else's formula is not my formula. I think you should write regularly. Now, daily, it's up to you. You could write daily for a month and then for 3 months not do anything. You could write weekly for the whole year. Like it's up to whatever else, because there's other things going on in your life. And there's times at work that are the busy time. Wherever industry you work in, there's the busy time and then there's a not so busy time. I've worked in higher ed for a long time. So, like graduation season, I'm not doing it. When I was an administrator, that's not the time I'm going to be. I just can't do anything in May because that's like the big thing. So, depends on
It,
what you got going on.
absolutely. Do you believe in writer's block?
I believe in it. I think that it's an experience where people are blocked, but there are different reasons for it. And it depends on the individual. I can name some reasons that people are blocked. There is some people actually have executive function problems and they can't, like, they may have ADHD. Like, there's a lot of undiagnosed people. People may have problems like that. I'm just saying those things, that's a real thing people shouldn't ignore and beat themselves up about. So that's just a different category of thing. I think sometimes people haven't, they don't know, they know that they want to write because they like the idea of being a writer, but they haven't thought about what they want to write about. They haven't actually, really thought about what they want to say. And that takes some bravery because you got to say it. You can't, you have to actually say the thing. So that's why some people are blocked because they haven't really thought about, they've thought about being a writer, but not actually writing. It's different. Then there's yeah, there's fear, there's anxiety, there are all these things. So there are techniques to deal with all of those things, but they're different techniques. Sometimes people need a workshop experience where they have to be accountable to someone.
Mhm.
That's great. And if it's a safe space where the people are like, productive and, constructive, then that's good. Some people, they need time. Okay, it's hard. We have to make time, but, there's all kinds of reasons for blockages.
Yeah.
Most of them are, sometimes it's just fear. It's nothing to be
Mhm.
afraid of. People like rejection. You better get used to rejection if you want to do this because that's like 90% of the time you're going to get rejected. So
I learned
don't,
that the hard way.
yeah, don't take it personally.
That's easier said than done, is especially
Yeah.
when you start
Yeah,
writing.
because I've been a judge many times and judges rotate. Sometimes it's the person's personal taste. Sometimes you have several judges and they can't agree on a winner because they have different tastes. So it's
Mhm.
just whoever is there at the moment. It's subjective.
That makes sense. So you just
Mm.
mentioned that you've been a judge.
Mhm.
What are some of the patterns that you've seen in which some writers have struggled?
So in poetry, It's a lot of, sometimes people are using too many words or they're explaining too much when they should be trying to evoke a feeling using the figurative language, using, using form, using whatever rhythm and all of that. Usually in poetry, it's like the over-explaining is usually something people do, which takes means that they should have edited a little more, right? In fiction, I would say sometimes people have not nailed down the central conflict, like what is the it in the story? What are we like? What's the conflict? There, sometimes people are great at beautiful descriptions, and exposition, but then nothing happens. So that takes practice. It takes practice in editing. It's an art form. You want to tell us a story, and it's like every author has a leaning or a belief or whatever message or politically or spiritually, all these things, right? But you have to do this in an artful way and don't just beat me over the head with whatever your thing is, the message that you really want to get out. Like make it fun, like use your skills, you know. Let the characters or the poetry, let it communicate that to us rather than telling us this is what I believe, right?
Mhm.
Because that's boring. The audience is sophisticated, they might
Yeah.
not be that literate, but on a gut level, people know when you're telling them a good story. That's the thing about humans know when the story is exciting and when it's boring. They know, even if their reading level is not that high.
Do you feel a special connection or personal connection to any of the books that you've written?
No, this is life. It's just what's happening in life. And so I do my best at the time with whatever I'm concerned with, and then I put it out there. And if other people get something of value from it, then I'm happy. And then I'm also happy because whatever idea was in my head, I made it real. And then I move on and on and on and on. And that's the way that's how I think about it. You can't there's nothing to hold on to in life. This is a river going, it's going. We're all just moving. We're all going somewhere and there's nothing to hold on to. So in the moment when you feel like you want to do something and you feel like there's an art form you like, then you just jump into it. And when you're finished, you jump out. When you have nothing else to say, then you won't be saying anything anymore.
And then you just move on.
Yeah, everything's always changing.
What has been the hardest part of your creative process?
I would say it's the longer blocks of time because I have to work at kids and everything. It's like sustain, like if you wanted to spend like a week just doing that, like that's been hard because I had to work all the time. So I had to do little things in pockets of time and you get interrupted. And then when you get into it, then you're interrupted. So that part is that's I think everybody who has to have a job, like they go through that, you know.
You have such a dynamic career. Uh,
Hmm.
you ended up going to get your MFA while juggling so many other areas of your life. Do you
Hmm.
feel that an MFA helps with the creative process or being a good writer?
Yes, there's two things about that. So certainly we can always have teachers. It's always good to learn from people who have done the thing that you want to do. That's really good. And to have mentors is really good. The second thing is that it's good to have accountability and a deadline. So when you're in this program, it's a finite amount of time. You have things that are due. You have people giving you feedback. You could take it or leave it because not all feedback from your peers or even the professors might be, helpful to you depending on whether or not people understand your cultural context or whatever is going on with you. But the point is the structure. Nothing, a lot of things stay in the ether because people don't feel like doing it. And there are people who are really talented who never get anything done. And so that will be your story if that, whoever the person is, that's what you did. Nothing. Like, so if you want to do it, there's no judge waiting for you. It's like you're doing it because you want to do it. You have to have a strong desire to do something. If you're going to stick with it, there's boring moments, there's frustrating moments, there's moments when people and their feedback, especially when you're a younger person, I think older people need to be careful about how they talk to younger people because you don't forget, based on the age that you and I and the range that we are, when we were growing up, it's like elders, they just said whatever. Nowadays, I would probably be more gentle, but it's important to have the feedback and, even if people say something harsh to you, you have to keep it moving because the question is, do you believe in your life? Like if this is if you say you want to do something, why wouldn't you do it well? Why wouldn't you just persevere? Right? Why would you just stop? Like it doesn't make any sense if you say you want to do it. So that's what I mean. It's the doing it is boring and painful sometimes, and there's brief moments of joy, but mostly it's hard. Like mostly it's hard and lonely. That's truth, you know?
Mhm.
So the fun times are when you get to share with people or you teach people and or you hear their work, they hear your work, and you can confirm that the crazy ideas in your head were universal. Because you and people are like, oh, I always felt that and I was too scared to say it, you know.
Mhm.
So that's one
So,
of those things.
who has been your inspiration, whether it's through the artwork, your artwork specifically, and your writing? Is
Oh,
there,
there's
yeah,
too many
one or
people.
two, maybe one or
Yeah.
two on the top of your list?
Well, okay, I'll say, of course, everybody loves Lucille Clifton, and I love her too.
Mhm.
June Jordan is wonderful. There's so many people, many, many, many people, but Lucille Clifton is one of those ones who I always go back to her work. I really love she was just really powerful in the economy of words and just everything about her life inspired me.
You know,
She was a doer. She did it, you know.
she was a doer. Yeah,
Yeah, she
execution is
was. She had a bunch of kids. She worked a job. She wrote a lot. And they're beautiful, beautiful work. And I'm just really happy that I think they've made her home into some kind of like museum, which is really cool.
really
Yeah.
nice.
hmm
What do you want your legacy to be?
I mean, I don't have any desire for anyone to remember me in any particular way. I am living my life with integrity. I'm being honest. I'm putting my work out there and people, that's what I did. I don't have a need to, the legacy thing. If it, it's more like I contributed to this very beautiful tradition, which has a lot of people in it, and I was a part of it. Um, and I can count myself as a part of this literary tradition accepted by my peers, judged, and critiqued and added to the library. And it's a body of work. I try to be honest and do my best. And the only people I really care about, like what they think about me, obviously, are my children. But people I don't know don't care. And, I just try to do no harm and leave something pretty. And I only care what my children think.
That is wonderful. What's next for you?
Mm, there's a few things. I'm not going to talk about them, but certainly always writing. There's writing projects. I have some work that's coming out in different anthologies this year, and you know, that's the shape of it. You'll hear about these things. Sign up for my newsletter.
Do you feel as if you're walking in purpose?
Oh, of course, always. You see, you have to be comfortable with yourself. This is if you want to go back to the writer's block thing, a big block for people is they are trying to be somebody else. And you have to be yourself. You have to accept yourself. You have to confront anything that's happened to you, whether, you have to look at it and for what it is, make peace with it. I know we intellectualize things that happen to us, but we also have to feel the feelings of the thing so we can flush it out. But yeah, of course, that's the first step. If you don't get that part right, you won't produce anything good or anything that will resonate because we're all very unique, different people. So people are reading your work for you, your unique stamp on things. So when people are cosplaying as someone else, it just dilutes the impact of the message. It's like you like people who are authentically themselves. And once you can get to that place where you feel like, I don't care if anybody laughs at me, I don't care if anybody talks about me or they think I'm weird or I don't care, I'm going to joyfully create this art, then you're free. You got to be free. Like what does Sly Stone say? So you could be free in your head if you want to be, right? That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, because Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what has staying power.
That's what has
Yeah.
staying power. Do you have any advice for creatives who want to follow a similar path or be able to share their authentic self?
You got to hang in there, man. You got to have tenacity. Um, don't take advice from people who haven't done anything that you want to do, because why would you do that? Why? Why? Why would you let, the orthopedic surgeon operate on your teeth, right? You know what I'm saying? Don't let the orthopedic surgeon operate on your teeth, because that's the dentist does the dentist thing and the orthopedist does the foot thing, right? So you have to have endurance. Once you're sure within yourself of who you are and you're right to be here and you're right to say what you are inspired to say, even if people disagree, once you are confident and nobody can move you, you can weather anything. And you're going to need to be that way if you want to be an artist. Like you're going to need to, your art's going to change. But if you start, it's people who are worried about what other people think about them. They never make anything because they're too afraid. And what's the worst thing they could do? Like people are crazy. There's a lot of bad things people do, but I'm just saying in the realm of like sanity, it's just words. So they don't like you. Who cares? Like no, not everybody's gonna like you or whatever you have to say. It doesn't matter. But there's people out there who need you to say what you're inspired to say because they do not have a voice. And that is very important to remember. There's people counting on you to say the thing because they can't say it, you know. And it's very important for people to cultivate peacefulness inside of themselves. Very important to encounter the world that way, and just stay on your path, stay focused, stay on your path, and you'll be fine, you know. Don't let things, all the rage baiting and out there on the internet is a waste of time. It's a
Mm,
waste of time.
absolutely. Keisha, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I hope you left feeling inspired and energized to follow your own path with purpose and creativity. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and until next time, keep creating, keep dreaming, and keep living your purpose.